So far we understood what is Hugging Face and how to create Hugging Face account and how to get the access token. And not all the models require access token to use. Only some of the models require access token. So depending on your model, you have to see if you need this access token or not. And we have also seen how to summarize a text by using the model from Hugging Face, right? Now let's see another use case, that is image understanding. That is, we will provide an image to the model and we will ask the model to explain us about the image, right? So that is image understanding project. So let's go to VS Code and see how we can implement image understanding, right? So let me go to VS Code, and inside our Hugging Face demo, let's click on file, new Python file, and let's save this as image understanding. The first thing is make sure you install transformers in case if you haven't installed already, right? Because we will be importing the functions that are available inside this transformers. Make sure you install that in case if you haven't installed already. So the first thing is, let's try to import all the required modules. That is, we are trying to import this request. This module is for request HTTP library, and then image from PIL, which is nothing but Python image library, right? And then we are trying to import blip processor class from transformers. So you can see the description here. And in case if you want to learn more about these classes, you can go to the documentation and try to explore more, right? So this is the constructs a blip processor, which wraps a BERT tokenizer and blip image processor into a single processor. So that is the intent of using blip processor. And then blip for question answering, right? Again, this is from transformers. So we are trying to import these two from transformers. And then the next step is, by using this blip processor, inside that we have a function called from underscore pretrained. So let's use that. We will get the processor, and now let's try to get the model too. So this is the model that we will be using from blip for question answering, and inside that we have a method called from underscore pretrain, and we are using the model Salesforce blip VQA base. This is the model that we are using for image understanding, right? And let's say we have an image. So this is the image that we are using from Google APIs, right? So let's try to use this image and try to understand this image. So let's store that image inside image underscore URL variable, right? And now by using this image, let's try to open the image. So here we are using request dot get, and we are passing the image URL and stream is equal to true and convert RGB, right? So we will get the raw image, and once we get the image, we can try to ask different questions and see if this model is able to answer or not. So let's try to ask the question. So this is the image, right? So now let's try to ask, what is the color of the dog, right? So our question is, what is the color of the dog? And we already got the processor. So we are passing the image, and then what is the question? And now inside the model, we have a method called generate. Overrides generate function to be able to use the model as a conditional generator, right? So here you are passing the input and we are trying to get the output, right? So now let's try to print the output and see if you are able to get the answer. Okay. So print processor dot decode, and we are trying to read the output value. So let's try to save this code and run the code and see if it is working. So here you can see 10, right? So it is able to give us the answer for what is the color of the dog, right? So the dog color is 10. So the model was able to understand our question and it is able to give us the answer 10, right? Now let's try to ask another question. What is the color of this girl's shirt, right? copy this same code, and instead of color of the dog, let's try to ask what is the color of the girl's shirt, right? So let me replace this question with what is the color of the girl's shirt. And then again, for processor, we are setting the raw image and the question that we are asking, and we are getting the output. And once we get the output, we are trying to print it, right? So let me save it and rerun the code. So now you can see it is able to answer plate, right? So that is the color of the girl's shirt, and this is the color of the dog, right? So let me close this. So instead of this image, you try to replace with something else and see if the model is able to answer the questions or not, right? And where is this useful? For example, let's say if you want to buy the same color watch. Let's say if your friend has this watch, and if you want the same color watch that your friend has, so take a picture and upload it to the model, and the model will understand the image and it will provide the recommendations for you to buy, right? So maybe a similar watch or an exact watch, right? So first the model should understand what is this image that we are uploading, and the image will be converted to text, and from that text the model will go to the vector and then search, and it will retrieve the answers for us, right? So instead of these questions, you can try to ask different questions. The model will predict the answers. For example, color of dog or color of girl's hair, right? And for example, let's say if you're not satisfied with this model's results, then you can always go to Hugging Face and try to explore different models and try to implement and see if it is meeting your requirement, right? And all these models are pre-trained models. If you want to know more about these blip models, you can go to Google and type blip model. So let me take you there. So this is the official documentation of blip models, right? So if you want to understand the model's architecture, how it was implemented, so you can see this is again transformers. You already know the transformers architecture: self-attention, feed forward, and the image encoder. And again, here we're asking what is the dog wearing, and you can see cross attention, and then how it is finally generating the answer, right? So you can try to see the code behind this and try to understand how it is implemented, right? So all these are pre-trained models. Okay, so now you understood how we are providing an image to a model, and then we are asking different questions, and how the model is able to answer for these different questions. So the model understood the image and then it is able to answer the questions for us, right? So what we did here, first thing is we imported all the required modules. This is the model that we are using here, and this is the URL. Instead of these models and URL, you can try to replace with something else and see if it is working or not, right? And then here, first thing is we are trying to get the image, and here we are framing the question, and then we are passing the raw image that we got here, and then we are trying to get the output, right? And here we are trying to print it. So similarly for the second question, right? So this is how you can try to understand the image, right? So that is, we are providing the image to the model, and then the model will try to interpret the image and answer the questions that we ask about that image. Okay, thank you.